we will hear from Ana Cejudo, co-CEO and co-founder of Founders.
Authorities, faculty members, parents, and especially graduated students, thank you so much for inviting me here today. Dear students, congratulations. You may not feel it now, but you will never forget today. Not in 5 years, not in 10 years, not in 50 years. You will keep remembering it, because today, and the days that will follow, will be the first steps in a career that will eventually shape who you will become professionally. Today, I would like to share 2 stories with you. One for you, the protagonists, and one for your parents who are here with you today. The first story is about success and failure. Success is, I'm afraid, the sum of large number of failed experiments. However, the real game is played after each one of those small failures. Will you continue trying? Or will you stop because the last failure was too painful? Only when we learn to stand up every time we fall, we'll be actually getting closer to success. My story with success and failure started just at this very moment you're living now. After my graduation, I was accepted by one of the most important consultancy firms. And I remember how many of my colleagues would see that with envy. It was one of the most desired jobs, and truth be told, one of the best jobs we could achieve to start a successful career. But let me tell you this. Success is not the same for everyone. In fact, if I ask everyone in this room to write down what success means to you, we would probably have more than 2,000 different answers. In my case, it took almost 18 months to realize that success was not having the most desired job. And I realized it in the worst possible way. I remember I cried most Sundays thinking about the week ahead. But hey, I was having a very successful career start. So I just hid those feelings and continued on the path I had chosen, because that was success, and living it would be a big failure, right? After almost 2 years, I decided that if I had to choose between being successful and being happy, I would choose the latter. So I decided to resign. And I remember the day I resigned. I was doubtful, my hands were shaking, and by the end of the day, I talked to my boss to tell him I quit. He did not take it well. In fact, he did not understand the decision, to the point that he offered me to work more to get a faster track to the next role to become a manager sooner. A life spoiler I can share with you. If you ever feel like choosing between success and happiness, it means you're not living your dream, but someone else's dream. I wish someone had told me that earlier, as I spent too long thinking the problem was me, since I could not enjoy the most desirable job. Back to my story, I had no plan B, I had no other job offers, and I had not applied to any other jobs at that point. But I can tell you something, I did not cry that Sunday. Uncertainty might be something bad, but unhappiness is far worse. Eventually, my partner and I decided to start something together. We spent our savings on starting our own company. In 3 months, we had our first prototype. Our product would turn a normal home into an intelligent one. And when you could even talk to your home to ask some questions and some actions to happen. The company was called Napsis Robotics, and you may have never heard of it, because 1 month before we publicly launched our product, Alexa, and HomeKit, the tech behind Siri, were announced. So as you can see, we failed before launching the product. And yet, we learned something important that we still apply today. If you decide to start your own company, don't focus on being successful. Instead, focus on failing as fast and as cheaply as you can. So you'll save more money, time, so this way you'll save more money and more time for the next idea that comes to you. In our case, we had not much money left. So we started a company that offered what we had learned over the last 3 years. We helped medium and big-sized companies prototype business models and ideas like startups. We helped companies like Nestle, Procter & Gamble, and Toyota to fail cheaply and quickly. We discovered that big corporations were pretty used to failing slowly and expensively, and that they loved the idea of someone helping them to build and fail faster. We started small, working with local small companies, and eventually we got a big company to hear what we did at an event we were presenting in Switzerland. The company was Nestle, and they told us, "We'll be in Barcelona next week, and we'll come to your offices. We're looking for a fast innovation provider right now." Do you know the worst part? We were 3 people in that company, and our office was a 7-square-meter office without natural light. It was actually a basement with no windows. So we had to come up with a plan that no one at Esade ever heard of, and I hope they will forgive me today. At that time, Esade worked with several companies offering them working space. And one of those companies recently moved out, leaving behind a gigantic 300-square-meter office, beautiful, with lots of windows. And we discovered that although the office was already empty, the rent was paid until the end of the month. So we printed our logo on cardboard in the same sizes as the other company logos in the workspace corridors. And the day the crew from Nestle landed in Barcelona, we sent a call for help to our friends, asking them to come to that office with computers and machines. And we asked them to invite some other friends too. The whole situation got a little out of hand, and by the time we arrived at the office with Nestle, there were like 30 people working with screens, laptops, 3D printers, and more. We did not know 75% of them, not even their names. Our logo was stuck with blue tack over the logo of a company we never talked to before. And we had a 2-hour meeting explaining why we were the right provider. It actually went well, and they hired us. I'm explaining this today, mentioning their name, because they know this story, as we shared it with them a year after we started working together. And they laughed. But they also told us that even though they only needed 3 people for their project, they would have doubted our ability to do the job if they had discovered that the whole company was just 3 people. Please don't understand me wrong. Am I telling you to illegally occupy Esade buildings? No, I'm not. In fact, I later discovered that if you sign up for Esade alumni, and I hope you do, you can ask for help if you need something like this, and they will do their best to help you. Follow your dreams and make sure your story is heard. After that initial big client hired us, we grew. A year later, we were 10 times bigger. 3 years later, we had an office in Barcelona, an office in Bogotá, and an office in Lausanne. 4 years later, we were acquired by the 5th biggest private equity firm in the world, Advent International, through their digital transformation arm. And yet, do you know the best part of all these years after that Nestle moment? That I was happy, and I felt successful on Mondays, on Fridays, and on Sundays. I also had 2 children, and I learned how harsh the world can be when you decide to be an entrepreneur and a mom. We lost a client the day he told my partner in a meeting, just after I left the room for a second, that since I was pregnant, he would prefer to work with him because I would not be able to do the job when I had the baby. Still, we did not lose him because of that comment. We lost him the moment my partner told him that he was also planning to take paternity leave as the child was his. And we were married. And then we referred him to look for another provider. You don't have to say yes to everything or everyone to please others. It's okay to say no, even if it means letting someone down or dealing with an uncomfortable situation. And that's learning I share with you. Staying too much in our comfort zone eventually poisons us. It's when you step out of your comfort zone that you will grow. So fight your ghost. Face your fears. You will fail, as we all do. And still, that's something that's not so terrible if you learn from it. Unfortunately, you won't learn anything if you spend all of your time in your comfort zone. Going back to the story, after selling the company, we agreed on a 2-year transition to the next CEO, who, by the way, is an Esade MBA. After those 2 years, we decided to stop for some time and think about what we would do next. I did not buy a Lamborghini. I bought a camper van instead, one that could feed the whole family and let us travel. Because for me, success was my family. And if we are talking about economic success, to me, it came today. I called the bank to cancel our 35-year mortgage on the house we built only 4 years before. And do you know why that moment felt like success? Because I can remember very well the day when I was a teenager, when my parents celebrated that they finished paying their mortgage and they owned their home. That felt like they had passed the video game of life. And I was able to make the same call before I turned 30. No Ferraris, no super expensive sneakers, no casinos, no diamonds, just peace of mind, a round-the-world trip with our children, and the possibility to start a new company from scratch on anything we wanted. That felt like success to me. The new company has a name, Founders, an AI school. Today we're a team of 60, and we became Microsoft's worldwide learning partner for artificial intelligence. Founders was the first company that I started not only as an entrepreneur, but also as an investor, as we invested together with a venture fund to start it and pay for its first year. The passion was the same as when I started my first company, but something was different. This time, I knew we could do it. I did not doubt myself every time I decided to trust my gut, even when the odds were against it. And that's something I learned from my mother, who was leading a company as well at the time, when she told me that every time someone asked me to do something I was not comfortable with, I should not do it and trust my gut instead. This does not mean avoiding uncomfortable situations. On the contrary, it means trusting your gut, even when you know that decision may lead you to an uncomfortable situation. So please, trust your guts as much as you can. As you can see, success comes, but it sometimes takes a number of failed experiments and moments to arrive. You'll need to be patient and keep fighting when the odds are against you. Because you'll never know if you're just after one more try. My second story for today is about good and bad decisions. And for this one, I'd like to address the older ones in the room. your parents and grandparents. I have some bad news for you, but also some good news. The bad news is that the life of these young people you have here with you will probably not be what you expect or what you imagine for them. They will make a few good decisions, a significant number of bad decisions, and a large number of terrible decisions. However, please hear me when I tell you, let them make those bad decisions. Let them fail. Just let them. 5 years ago, I lost my sister. She was 20 when she passed away. She was 20 when she passed away due to something totally unexpected. And still I can tell you, the last year of her life was absolutely perfect. She and we didn't know it would be her last year. But if we had known, I can tell you she would have done exactly what she did. She decided to take a gap year to explore the world, to pause new studies, then start new ones, then to change again to some other studies, to go to Africa and explore the oceans in Canada. Most of those decisions sounded like terrible decisions, but she and I were lucky as we had great parents who allowed us to make our own decisions, both good and bad. So I ask you, be great parents and let them make bad decisions. When you see light in their eyes, sharing what went well and what did not over those decisions, you'll understand that sometimes to be a superhero to our kids, we only need to let them be. Congratulations once again, and enjoy the journey ahead of you. Thank you.